Hello, this is professional video game expert Tim Rogers. You are watching Kotaku.com. Today we are playing Minit. Minit is a game about a little Q Berty-Tamagotchi-lookin walking duck-faced person character who finds a cursed sword on a beach. The sword's curse is such that you die every 60 seconds. Well, I don't know if you die or not. It just says time's up. Maybe the curse is you pass out and wake up back in your house every 60 seconds. Alright, look, let's not get distracted by this minor detail. You have 1 minute to complete your adventure. What is your adventure's purpose? There's a guy who tells you to go to the sword factory. So maybe that's the purpose of your adventure. Now I know what you're thinking. If you only live for 1 minute, does that mean that speedrunners are going to be able to beat the whole game in less than a minute? I'm just an expert about video games in general, not about this exact video game. Though I'm going to guess no. Minit is a game where dying is a mechanic in itself. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean that as some kind of an abstract statement. I mean that dying is such a mechanic that this game literally has a die button. Minit has 2 buttons, the kill button and the die button. If you're like me, you're going to wish there was a 3rd button, a hug button, because you're gonna want to hug every inhabitant of Minit's world. With just a few tiny black and white pixels and a few scrappy dialogue words, these little buddies can awaken even your comatose uncle's hug hunger. By the way, Minit is not on the Nintendo Switch. I am sure the developers know that you want it on the Nintendo Switch. No, I don't know if it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, though my expert analysis says probably. In case you haven't noticed, Minit is in black and white, and before you say it looks like Undertale, allow me to tell you you're wrong. It looks like Downwell. If your TV is as bright as mine, you're going to appreciate that Minit lets you individually tune the brightness of the whites and the darkness of the blacks. There's also a screen shake slider and a vegan option. Fun fact, I'm not a vegan. So many of my hate mails call me a vegan. I'm not. Even my mom thinks I'm a vegan. Come on, Mom. At some point in this video, I am required to disclose that Minit is published by Devolver Digital, to whom I have unsuccessfully pitched several video games in the past. Those video games include Truck Heck, Moby Dick 2 or The Whale 2, Kangarooin', 1770X, American History Evolved, Video Cars, Truck Heck, Grabjackers, Horse Hater, Truck Heck. Shockingly, none of these game titles was cool enough on its own for Devolver Digital to instantly approve a multi-million-dollar budget over email. What I'm getting at is, in my opinion, my making a video about Minit is not a conflict of interest at all. I should despise Devolver Digital. Well, some days a guy just has to admit that cheapskate scumbags can publish some really good video games. Today is one of those days. Minit is a really good video game. By design necessity, every individual puzzle or encounter in Minit is less than 60 seconds long. The game does have some fun with this. The depth of the dying and restarting mechanic becomes apparent when you encounter a room with multiple traversal paths. The 2nd or 3rd time you stroll through, you've figured out the fastest way, so the game has impressed you with geometry alone. Some puzzles require time-consuming work. They reset when you die, so the next time you come back, you have to remember what you've tried already. Minit isn't about backtracking. It's about learning efficiency. Mindfulness of your past mistakes is the backbone of Minit's design. This is why the developers asked me, very nicely, not to spoil any of the solutions of the puzzles. This is a journey best if you take it yourself, or if you have a real-life hug buddy, you can play with them. You don't even have to touch the controller to play this game. Watching your friend play and remembering stuff they've tried and stuff they haven't is pretty much the same thing as playing. Do you remember that sensation long ago from maybe your youth in the 1980s or maybe your youth playing emulated games in the early 2000s, where a Zelda game would exhaust your imagination to the point where you'd be doing the dumbest stuff? You'd ask yourself, did I miss something? And then 3 silent hours later, your mom tells you it's time for dinner, and you're like, I'm busy, Mom. And she's like, busy doing what? and you look at the TV screen and you see that you've got Link just bombing random spots on the ground, and this cold feeling washes over you. How did I get here? Why am I doing this? Well, it turns out that feeling is even better with a friend watching. Minit is the sort of game that will make a human say aloud, "Hey, try using the watering can to give the workers in the mine a shower." As the adventure unfolds and your little character meets more friends and you find more items unlocking more abilities, Minit stretches your ability to obtain familiarity with its world. Minit is a full-length adventure built entirely out of the when statements that fill your brain during a Zelda or a Metroid game. I'll have to come back here when I can cut trees. I'll have to come back here when I can swim. You never consider the if. Minit contains puzzles, though it also is one huge puzzle. I call these sorts of overarching puzzles neighborhood games. For example, when I lived in San Leandro, California, there were 6 supermarkets within a mile of my house. I had a car. However, no individual one of these supermarkets sold every item I needed to stock my refrigerator. It took me 3 months before I had devised an effective grocery shopping route that involved just 3 of these supermarkets. Shout me out in the comments if you think the trading sequence in Zelda Link's Awakening is one of the best video game things ever. Minit also has phenomenal music. The music changes and flows as you live, die, repeat, and transition between areas. I capture games with the music muted so that I can retain the sound effects. What I'm saying is, this is not how the music sounds in the game. You have to play the game if you want to really hear the music. Here's another behind-the-scenes tidbit. Before I write the script for one of these videos, I read the YouTube comments on the game's trailer. Then I aim to, with my script, subtly address the questions and concerns that come up in these comments. For Minit, I kept seeing comments which express apprehension about the time limit. "It's a shame about the time limit," one comment said. "I hate games with time limits," said another comment. These comments reminded me of my little brother. His name is Clint. I know you're watching, Clint. I'm sorry. When he was a small child, nothing in the world scared my little brother as much as the manager of Target saying over the loudspeaker that the store would be closing in 10 minutes. My little brother would be like, "Mom, we gotta get out of here." And my mom would be like, "In a minute, Clinton." And he would be like, "Seriously, Mom, we gotta go home." Why was my little brother so afraid of being locked in a Target? Like they had a Super Nintendo demo station in there. You could lock me in a Target tonight, and I would love it. So let me confront your fears, little bros of the world. There are checkpoints. All you have to do is walk into one of the multiple houses in the game to set it as your reawakening point when the timer runs out. As you get new items, you unlock faster and faster traversal routes. By the end of the game, you will have constructed an efficient mastery of every corner of this quirky neighborhood. You can buy a pair of running shoes for 7 coins. It took me 2 hours to find 4 coins. Minit is about making every second of your life count. Literally. Will it go on to wield that notion in the process of making any sort of profound philosophical gesture toward the player? I won't spoil it. For now, I'll just say that Minit is such a meticulous assembly of small ideas into a whole sequence that I would recommend it as homework for any student of game design. Minit reminds me of the time when Zelda was not yet quote-unquote Zelda. Minit reminds me of Zelda Link's Awakening, sure, though it also reminds me of many Zelda-Likes. Minit is the rawest essence of Zelda, sung with enthusiasm. It's Zelda punk. Oh no, I can't believe I said that word. Minit reminds me of many not-quite Zeldas. GoldenEye for the Game Boy Color, SNK's Crystallis for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It reminds me of For the Frog the Bell Tolls for Game Boy. It reminds me of Willow for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Actually, Willow the video game is based on the film Willow, starring Warwick Davis, who later starred in an HBO series called Life's Too Short. Wow, that would be a pretty good name for this game. Well, I've just referenced a television series produced by Ricky Gervais, so I should probably stop talking about this game now. You know, I originally planned to end this video by saying, in summary, Minit is twice as good as Half Minute Hero, and Then, today, during Kotaku's morning meeting, I said, I'm making a video about this game Minit, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. Jason Schreier said, are you gonna say it's twice as good as Half Minute Hero? And I had a micro stroke. So now, because of Jason Schreier, I've literally spoken the words Ricky Gervais into a microphone.
Twice.
I hope you're happy, Jason Schreier, because I was born stupid. However, I will not die hungry. Video games forever, 1 minute at a time. Kotaku.com.